Today we're going to Luke chapter 10, verse 27, Lucas Oil lesson 24. Jesus is speaking. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. In this chapter of Dr. Luke, Jesus was getting down to some very nitty-gritty basics of our faith. Living the Christian life is not that complicated. Love God with all your heart. Love your neighbor as yourself. These two commandments are the foundation of everything else. Now, this conversation began when a certain lawyer stood up to put Jesus to the test. Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? Now, he was a bright man. He was an intelligent man. Around his wrist would have hung a leather box. He was a lawyer. And so around this box was the phylactery. It contained certain scriptures that he was to memorize and never forget. One of them would have told him to love God with all his soul, mind, strength. Another of the scriptures in the phylactery would have been, love your neighbor as yourself. So when he asked Jesus, putting him to the test, the question, how do I inherit eternal life? Jesus simply pointed to his wrist and asked him, what's written in that little box? Well, dutifully, the man would have recited the phylactery. And Jesus then answered and said, you answered correctly. Do this and you will live. Well, the young man was not going to be undone by that answer. It was too simple. And so to squirm out of his responsibility, not unlike many of us, he began to quibble about the meaning. Well, exactly, who do you think my neighbor is? Jesus. Dr. Luke in verse 29 said that the lawyer said that just to justify himself. He wasn't really wanting an honest answer. Jesus, in response, tells the now famous Good Samaritan story. A Jewish traveler walking on a road was beaten, left for dead in the dirt. Those who should have helped him didn't help him. The one who was least expected to help him, a despised Samaritan, bound him up, looked after his wounds, placed him in a place of safety, and comforted him. Jesus then asked the lawyer the million-dollar question, which of the travelers proved to be the neighbor to this beat-up and wounded man? The lawyer answered correctly, well, the one who showed mercy. And Jesus said, you're right. Now you go, you do the same. There's the point. You be a good neighbor. So we ask, well, what is being a good neighbor? Well, being a good neighbor is anyone God places along my path today. And my good neighbor tomorrow is the same thing. Anyone God places along my path tomorrow. It might include a colleague of yours today, a family member, a classmate at school, someone you run into what appears to be coincidentally, but don't believe it for a second. If it's at Walmart, if it's at No Frills, if it's at Home Hardware, whoever it is, God has placed them in your path for your day. Don't ignore them. Listen to them. Meet their needs. Love them as you would love yourself. The point is this. The people you meet are God's appointments for you. They're not a coincidence. Thank you for joining me.